At this market in central Tokyo, seafood sellers are bracing for bad news.
We stock 1 year of salmon at a time, so we're currently doing okay. But prices are rising, not just for Russian salmon, but for salmon from all over. It will soon be the peak fishing season, and if that salmon doesn't arrive in Japan, it's going to have a huge impact.
The Russia-Ukraine conflict is having a ripple effect throughout Japan's seafood industry, and salmon is in the spotlight. Transport disruptions are blocking the supply chain. Flights from Europe are avoiding Russian airspace, sharply reducing arrivals from Norway. While new flight routes have been established, importers say their margins are being squeezed.
The flight distance is longer, so that's pushing up the cost. We now have to sell to our customers at a much higher rate than we used to. Of course, that leads to a decrease in sales at retail stores. We're only seeing 70 to 80% of usual demand.
Japan relies heavily on imports. Its domestic fishing industry has been in decline for decades from a combination of overfishing and an aging population. Last year, Russia accounted for around 4/5 of its sea urchin imports and nearly half of its crab imports. But the future is uncertain. Japan has taken strong measures in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The government has decided to revoke Russia's most favored nation status, which will raise tariffs on certain items. For crabs, for example, the rate will rise from 4 to 6%, and all of this will further push up import costs. Adding to Japan's woes, the value of the yen has plummeted, and it's making imports painfully expensive. The situation is raising questions about food security.
The pandemic disrupted the fragile global supply chain. Then there are also issues about high petrol prices, as well as climate change. These issues have piled up, and now the Russia-Ukraine conflict is adding to this difficult situation. I don't think this is something that can be solved in the short term. In Japan's case, it's struggling with a weak yen. If things continue like this, it won't have the power to import anymore.
As trading companies worldwide scramble to diversify their seafood sources, Japan must swim against an unfavorable tide to compete. Phoebe Amoroso, CGTN, Tokyo.